All right, so we got it on recording now? We are recording, just so you know. If you don't want to be recorded, say so and we can pause over there. A couple of things happened, and part of it was this young man's article. If you read in Digger, he kind of said, you know, we don't have a store. Do you want to paraphrase what your whole article was?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it was about, really, the store closing and the implications of that for access to takeout food and to fresh food.
Well, it took me probably 5 minutes of reading to say, oh, heck, maybe there's an opportunity here. And I happen to know people who have worked on or worked in the cooperative store environment. One is my friend Jamie Morby, who may or may not show up over there. You got to keep looking in the waiting room here to see if he shows up. She shows up, excuse me. And I had a good talk with her, and she said, hey, we got a whole bunch of co-ops, and also we have a trust company, which is a formation much like a co-op, but it's kind of bigger. And they went after grants, and I put up some articles, but they put a little over $1 million in the bank so far to rebuild their store. We're talking about populations that are a little smaller than what we are, but yet people were interested and wanted to do something and get something going and not see their stores just sit with nobody in them or vacant. So we also have, there's something that the owners of the property would be on here. She signaled me a couple times. She may not be able to get in there, but their name is also Lawyer, and they have reached out to me, and I understand that they would like to sell it first, but they could rent the first floor out if they had to, or if it was the only option that we could come up with. Now, you should know that there's nothing left in the store. There's nothing left inside. Everything's been moved out. The pizza ovens, the compressor off the cooler. The cooler structure is there, but they've removed the compressor from that because that was part of what they were leasing to make that thing cold. Dear Kate, dear to my heart. And you know, there was a lot of other things that are in there, but most of those things can be purchased, replaced. I think somebody mentioned that they look at restaurant supply houses that sell this stuff, and so we should be able to come up with stuff inexpensively. But I'm not here to talk about what my vision is, but what you folks are looking at, what you would like to see over there. And again, remembering that we have maybe an option to purchase or an option to lease it. Right now, there's an income apartment above it. There may be issues with the septic. There may be issues with just the property and think parking, because there's like zero parking over there. It's all curbside. I suggested to our town clerk that we take 20 yards off the front of the park and use that as a parking lot. She didn't like that. We can't do that. In any case, this is an open forum. If you want to speak, raise a hand and we'll do it that simply. And it's not a formal meeting, but somebody's taking good notes, or some buddies are taking good notes. And if at some point we get around to writing them up and putting them out for people to read, I think it would be great to continue doing this for maybe the next couple months, at least once or twice more. Maybe we can get more coordination on the video. We all don't have to come out. I'm very health conscious, and I'm worried that getting people in a small room. Anyway, anybody like to lead it off and comment or talk? Again, freestyle here, but let's segment it into purchase or lease, what we'd like to see there, and then next steps. So, and I want to keep this to an hour, but we're doing pretty good. So purchase or lease, let's open that up to questions and see if we can write those down and maybe get back to folks.
Yep. So Brenda, I think my first question is, if we're talking purchase or lease, we need to understand how much they want for the building.
$249,000.
What if the lease?
Probably $1,500 a month, which is what I think the last lessee had in that space.
And the one more that may add in, a link for Arcadia, is the tenant upstairs. Are they staying?
It is in their lease currently that they have to leave if it's purchased and that the new purchaser or owner wants them out. If downstairs leases, they stay. So there's an income from that, but I don't know what the income is. That wasn't a question that I asked.
So if we lease, we get the income from the upstairs?
No,
Oh, okay, that's what, for a moment, I was like, hey, wait,
that would
wait,
stay
wait.
with the owner of the property.
And then one more question, and this is just a roundabout, and maybe you don't, because, you know, you're just getting fired at it. What's the taxes cost on that property?
No idea. That's something I know I can look up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What is it, 250,000?
249 was the asking price. Also, if you go on the web or look at the woman who's representing the property, there is a walkthrough photographs, pictures of the property as well. So you can see that on the real estate website, so you get an idea. But just imagine a room that's blank with nothing in it, but maybe a little beer cooler indent over there. It isn't that big. I mean, if you've all been in there. It's not a huge piece of space.
Bathroom, is there a bathroom?
No.
No.
Only
No.
upstairs, right?
Upstairs has a bathroom, and that may be an issue, septic. So whatever we're writing down, whether there's because if you serve food, I believe you have to have restroom facilities.
There is a
So what,
small bathroom on the store level.
Yes, but
It
it's
was never open to the public.
never open to the public, and there may be septic adequacy issues, or age, or any one of those, number of those things. So I think we realistically think about septic redesign.
and accessibility.
And accessibility, those are all things. Well, and I don't know if that conforms to state regulations or if it's too steep. So that's one of the things that we definitely would want to look at. So accessibility ramp, a lot of concrete there, because I think that's the whole thing is a poured piece of concrete in there. Safety. Yep.
Doesn't it make a difference when you're thinking the what about the purchase or lease? Because the septic is sort of a huge piece, and if your long-term goal, I mean, I have spoken to a couple of people, and I happened to find the Peachum Cafe. Love going there. When Dr. came this past year and said, I think this would be a really cool thing to pursue in retirement. And then Brenda came into the picture, and I got really excited because somebody who had a better vision than I, and she kind of sent me to look at the Maple Corners, and it all seemed doable with the right pieces falling into place. My concern, and I actually talked with the guys that work, I was leaving with a friend, and what happened was they said something in a conversation, I introduced myself, and we talked for 20 minutes. He says, you don't want to buy a building. It's not affordable, and actually the town bought the building. It's very cool. And it was a historic building, and they do, you know, they have to keep the upkeep and the monthly expenses, but they're not paying a rent or a mortgage. And it even got me to think, okay, what in this town is there some flexibility around? Because boy, when you start to have to sink that kind of money into a rent or a mortgage, you're crawling up. I don't know what that would be. As I said, I'm not a business person, but, and I'm not saying storage is an option, but then when we really know septic is an issue, and my long-term thing would be to have something where you could sit down. Call it a cafe, call it what you want, a diner.
Everything is open. I mean, with respect to whether it's a historic building or not, your husband told me, not on the historic register, it's not in designated historic property.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's great. How did, if you said, they have to, they sell food, so how did they get around it more?
Yeah.
There's no chair, sit down, it's all takeout.
So if we move towards one option, then certain other things become requisite.
So even if it was like, say, if you had like, it was just outdoor seating or seasonal seating, there wouldn't be a loophole on
Porta potties?
I mean, that? I don't know, but
Well,
that's another cost.
it's
There's one in the
certainly
park.
something
Yeah,
to look
exactly.
into
Yeah,
with respect to that,
Yeah.
and how much outdoor seating would there be that takes up all your parking space? I don't know.
Like that whole front section where there's less parking would be an awesome addition.
Yeah,
outdoor seating, but.
if we could find somewhere else.
So you have to think about,
Oh, why can't they park in the post office parking lot? Next door.
Well, that's tenant parking.
I mean, there's plenty of street parking, I mean, really,
Technically, there is.
Yeah, there's an.
there's plenty.
If you look at where
Yeah.
the picnic area is, that's actually parking as well.
There's
plenty of
plenty
parking.
of street parking, and they may have to walk a little bit, but.
Well, if we were leasing, we're still responsible for dealing with the septic overhaul, or is the landlord?
I don't know, good question.
Okay.
Good question. So that would be the question. So
Initially, I said landlord would be the one.
I would say so as well.
Right. And I don't know if we can get a mortgage.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well,
yeah, don't have to say it's on.
The echoes are driving me crazy.
What is the trust gonna do? Like, as far as refurbishing or something like that, if it was land trust.
Well, here's the, when you talk about, when you talk about what options are available, the cooperative model is only one. Maybe leasing is the best option for a cooperative model.
Mhm.
If you're talking about land trust, or if we move towards a larger, what do they call it? Let's say we're going to call it the Coal Hollow Land Trust. And we talk about combining the aspects of rebuilding the Brigham Academy and redoing the store, and we come up with $2 million. They did it next door. They literally did it in Maple Corners. And that is a community of lots less than this.
But where does that money come from?
People bring a check.
Yeah.
No, there's grants, and preservation grants and all sorts of things. I didn't get into the preservation trust part of it because I didn't want to get all cluttered up with process. But I wanted to, might be the
Next
next
discussion.
step. So, and, discussing finances where are we deciding tonight on any of that? No. We're throwing ideas out, we're popcorning stuff,
Mhm.
and folks are keeping good notes, and hopefully we'll have compilation. Maybe we'll start a Facebook private website where we can start throwing stuff in to talk.
I've got some.
I would definitely like to organize these thoughts in a way that everybody can read and people who weren't here can contribute and have input on that. So, yeah.
What is everyone's thoughts on carrying produce, things from local farms? I mean, that's a huge thing for
I
me.
mean, those live in Boston Road, there's so much
Yeah,
around
but
here.
it's essentially located, so, I mean, there's so many farms that I buy from a lot of them.
We have
That'd be
that
great.
opportunity available. I think there's a lot of value in going to the farm itself because that's part of the experience. But to have a central place where you can run in and get a winter squash,
Yes.
maybe you can get a bunch of carrots that they
Yeah,
just pulled out.
supporting the local economy and the local farms is.
Yeah.
Now, what would you see local? County, just a Bakersfield area?
It could be, I mean, there's so many farms here, in Franklin County alone. Even,
Whoever's willing to bring their stuff to the place
Exactly.
to be sold.
Yeah.
It really comes down to that.
Couldn't you might be able to get like local people by and be like, hey, have your produce featured at our store, and then maybe there's a perk for the people who are providing that, because you have the neighbors, you're like, please take my tomatoes.
yeah, see, that'd be awesome too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, yeah, because people have, the abundance of stuff, and so everybody's getting offloaded by the neighbors, but how about people who are new to town? who don't know anybody?
Exactly.
So,
Like, I don't know who that is, this is the house that has the fresh eggs. Yeah.
There's always-
there's there, but now it's-
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
We actually moved off of
Sorry.
the options, but you guys are already going ahead and planning what we're gonna have to do. So I think that was almost the second thing we wanted to talk about. We're gonna have a coffee shop, we're gonna have a sandwich shop, we're gonna have pizza, we're gonna have local produce, we're gonna have stuff that does not compete or cross-compete with folks in the neighborhood. I think that would be a pretty good premise to make sure that we can ensure their sanctity of their operations, because they're doing that throughout.
Mhm.
And I would certainly support starting small and having something that's attainable, like what you're describing with the fresh farm stuff.
Yeah, like a farm market.
Yeah, but the idea that it would be lovely to have something that eventually could be sit down. So just, when you look at, okay, purchase lease, you have to have that long-term vision, I think. I don't know, I'm not a business person, but it would just seem like you don't want to
You
buy.
will be eventually.
So I know someone in South Carolina, I think, or North Carolina, who runs the Arbor Farm Market. I don't know if anybody's been to it. It's in the islands. And they are a really small operation based on a farm. They use local people, and Alicia Utter is the owner. I'm pretty sure that if you guys wanted to go in the produce direction, she can talk about the town.
Thank you.
So if you guys were interested in learning about like how they source their, because they're all local, it's everybody in the islands, they're getting from local farms and communities and small vendors. So I'm sure she'd be willing to talk to you guys about how they did it, because they've run into a lot of
There's
vendors.
that and agreeing with local vendors, how they want to be represented in the store. Maybe they just want one product and then reference to their options there. I know that, we have gelato here in town.
We do?
We do.
Yes. I didn't know. That's
We
awesome.
have a coffee producer now who's roasting a
Yes,
small
it
batch.
is amazing.
Yeah. Really good stuff. They're about in the pool now, and roast. So,
Have a Facebook page, they deliver locally too. if you want.
Oh, yeah, because there's them and Braxton Jenkins is kind of far.
Yeah, no, this is amazing.
What are they called?
Peaked Perks.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Peaked Perks.
really good.
I thought it was on Peaked Hill Road.
Yeah.
But he's actually on the Belvedere, I'm sorry, yeah, Belvedere Mountain Road.
That's awesome.
So we have local vendors, we have things that we can do. I don't think it'll be any problem stocking the store. Probably finding the room for everything that's produced locally, as long as there's a beer cave, okay?
I agree.
Do we know anyone who grows locally-ish? Anyone at a small batch or craft?
Roast here in town, I mean, that's what he does, he doesn't brew it.
Who's that?
You're
Oh,
talking
he-
about-
she's talking about beer.
Oh, beer, yeah,
Oh,
that's what she said,
beer.
beer,
Yeah,
so I
yeah,
was like, that's pretty cool.
Maybe in the basement. of the- start doing it. Yeah, the water source that's really good would be key to that.
Here's
Again,
where we make our millions.
I think so. Whole hollow beer. Anyway, not to get off on tangents, but I don't think anything is impossible. All of these ideas sound wonderful. I think that to move forward and, within the context of what we're gonna do, we first have to acquire the property in some way. We have to make sure that it's a viable place to do this work at. Otherwise, we'll take over Ross's garage and make a coffee place out of that. I don't care.
Plus all the upgrades, septic issue.
Yeah, I think we need a
Oh,
base
It's
someplace.
also, it's kind of like buying a house at this point, like, what's
Yeah.
what's the underlying
Yeah.
issues that you're willing to put
And the
into?
structure,
Yes.
foundation.
Right.
Yep, foundation, everything, and,
Okay.
I've run a bulldozer before, and somehow that has appeal as well to take that out. We need
Get rid of the ramp.
probably 2 or 3 people, at least 3 people that would want to concentrate on what it would mean to acquire the property, and that keeps it out of everybody in the negotiation, but it makes a tight group that can determine what their needs are. Much like what we want to do with it once we acquire it, group decision, but started with a small committee. A small enough group where they can handle or bite it off in a chunk, and do that. So some of the questions that we've asked already are just basic questions if you're buying a house.
What about the basement? Foundation,
Yeah.
I don't
the
think
power.
I don't think there's much of a basement.
How's it?
Okay. Well, of course, yeah.
Because I know like around here, it's astronomical.
Yeah.
That would have to be-
So those are all considerations for, we'll call it subgroup A, the folks who are gonna dive into looking at what it means to buy the property, lease the property. Whatever options you can think of are all open.
Is that the only property for now that we are considering keeping that? Are we opening it up to see if there's any other feasible options.
Isn't there another building?
Other than Ross's place, it's been for sale for a while. I don't know what else would be commercially viable. You gotta look at the commercial zone, they have to be zoned commercial.
Ross's place, is that where the gym?
No,
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 Across
it's
the
across from the Dollar.
Garage across the
Yeah.
garage.
Oh, yeah, okay, across from the food pit.
Yeah, so
That would be an awesome diner.
Well, there are thoughts about how you revitalize the entire area. It isn't just around one operation.
Yeah.
We're looking at, just as you know, we're looking at the Brigham Academy, and we're actually getting money for a feasibility study. It's coming in, so that's.
For
that's
housing,
gonna- I'm sorry?
for senior housing.
For any housing,
Any housing.
just structurally, it has to be safe.
What would it take to actually make that little?
Oh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Down.
So again, they're gonna work on exactly what we are. What's it gonna take to acquire it? What's it gonna take to make it code worthy? What's it gonna take to be able to start moving equipment in there? And not too far from what Brigham has to do, because they've gotta find out if it's structurally safe and that if we can build in there enough units to make it viable, so. I would like to see mixed use housing in there, mixed use, on sale, so. But yeah, so that's another project that we've got. I've already talked to Lance, who is on that committee, Lance Lawyer is on that committee, and we just kind of brainstormed for about 30 seconds. I said, what if we did this as a trust, the whole thing as a trust? And that's one of the ways that they generated the most funds over in Maple Corners.
Have we looked, have we, I know Ginsburg is going through a revitalization study as well. Have we considered doing something?
You're considering it right now, that there are grants that are coming from the state, to revitalize downtowns. I don't know if we meet the threshold for that, depending on population and density. But that's ways that they were able to get money going with that.
If you have a committee for people doing like the housing space thing, is anybody doing things like grant writing or
What we need,
research?
it's gonna be needed. And I want to think that there are several logical steps in doing this. And again, I've never done this before, so I'm brand new at it. And maybe I got like 2 pages of research ahead of you guys. But I think that you'll all be deep into it and start coming up with ideas. This is designed to get the thoughts and everything going tonight. This is all I wanted to do. It exceeded my expectations to have all you folks come tonight. So.
We're in contact with people that have done co-op before, the co-op I know about was the Era Co-op, Art Co-op, and even for
Sure,
little people, that might be another resource to go to.
absolutely. We've got a co-op right in St. Albans as well. Got a co-op in Morrisville. These are all models that are close, local, successful. And what we don't want to do is, I think the question to ask these people when we go out and see them is to say, what would you recommend we avoid? What didn't work? Where did you fall into the cellar pit, the money pit, or whatever it was? So there's enough references around us. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to find the right wheels.
I also think we want to be careful in not stepping on them, because in the society we live in, many of us do travel to Enosburg or to St. Albans. So we're a small community, if it's something that we can get in those communities, does it make sense to bring it here, or do we concentrate on some of the things that are more local here? I think Jan scared me a little bit the other day when we were talking about, we're on the ground floor of Bell City and things starting, and, I'm picturing what all of that looks like, and, that's a lot of work.
But what's being talked about here, I see is very different. The Rail City was many years ago, probably at this point 50 years ago. And some of us wanted a co-op, and we each contributed, I think it was like $50 a month. And then we had this work list of where you went in and swept and managed the black beans and the chickpea and the oil. And then we had a man who went to New York City to gather it like every other week, Bill Paterick, who used to live here in town. and come back with it. And it got it going. And thankfully, somebody bought it, Hudak, the original owners. But what we're talking here is not each of us going into the store, or maybe we are, I don't know. And, you know, I will commit to Saturdays for 6 hours and you commit, I don't know.
You heard it.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening here in this situation.
I mean, would it be so bad if some people did? I mean, I'm on disability, I don't have a job. so-
Well, so that's another aspect down the road.
Very,
Yeah.
very
If you get
happy
this
to
thing
run.
running, there's gotta be
I
a
mean,
space, there's gotta be somebody there at some point anyway,
Yeah.
to be able to run it.
But it's also good for jobs for change, you know.
Oh, yeah.
local
Staffing has
business.
been hard for them. I think one of the
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that you noted in
Yeah.
your article was they ran out of
Yeah.
the ability to bring somebody in. I don't know if that was because the wage point was too low. I would like, somebody said, maybe I should mention it. Somebody who owns a store down in Fairfield and I are in communication all the time. And he said, don't look to make $1 million out of this. I'm not looking to make $1 million. I think our goal
Makes
should be
sense
to
to me.
break even.
I guess if you
It's
don't-
just go to the house.
I also
Leave it goals.
Hey, I
Yeah,
look
it
at
kind of
that.
seems like it's almost a
Money maker.
nonprofit, anything that goes above and
Right,
beyond.
yeah.
Cost of expenses is gonna be turned back into making it better and growing,
Yes,
whatever it
exactly.
can turn into.
It's for the community.
That would be part of, like, when you get to the point of making a mission statement, what is it that we're really gonna do there?
I would invite you to look at everything that I posted up because every one of those quadrants have a mission statement. And Montpelier being probably one of the biggest and most successful co-ops, actually has a pretty interesting board. They are pretty dedicated on making that work all the time. And they pay a decent wage from what I've heard. And I think that all bears investigation. We've got a snowball here and we started out with a little thing and it's getting larger. I would like to make sure that out of this meeting, we know that there's gonna be a next meeting. And that we are focused on what it means to acquire the property and what needs to be done to acquire it and how we get there. All the fun stuff that we're thinking about putting in there, that is wonderful speculation. That's a really great thought process that we're having. But until we actually come up with the foundation for whatever it is we're gonna do. Yeah,
Well, and also determine whether it's actually even
It's
viable,
exactly
based
right.
on the facility and everything else that's gonna be just starting out.
It might be a lot more than $249,000 when we look at.
Could be.
So for the next meeting, what are we looking at for next steps? You want to designate committees now for us to all go off and research, or what would you like?
Yeah, I think having at least 3 folks that would start to really unpack what it means to own or lease property over there. And maybe you'll talk with the lawyers who currently have the title on that and how they want to do it. I'm kind of glad that maybe she isn't here tonight, that she doesn't overhear the discussion, but you know, they had their ideas, we've got ours. We can make this work.
Brenda, I have a couple of thoughts on this, say something before we go to the next
Go ahead.
step. So one is, I also think about not just teenagers, but many of us are either getting really, really close to retirement or are retired and
Yes.
just want something that is in community. And I know I'm gonna have withdrawal symptoms when I stop working because I know part of why I do this is to see people.
So,
Well, and I mean, my work is speech and language, so obviously I don't mind talking. And I think for me, that's what it's gonna be about. It's about connecting with people and getting a salary is like maybe much lower on the list. Making something like that's not gonna pay the bills. It's going to be able to be out and have something that feels really good. So I just wanted to say, I know we always think of the young people, but this is an aging community. And I mean, we've lost 100 kids in our schools since my kids 15 years ago were there. So the dynamics in this community are very different. And I think many of us are pretty active as the over whatever crowd, I'll leave it at that. So, I mean, I think we're good for doing something and we're here tonight.
I like that too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And the other thing I was gonna say is, I also think if our vision is to farm other stuff, does it have to be the building or the structure that we ultimately end up with? Because maybe we start in a different way, like I'd really like to think outside the box on this, because I think, I don't know. I'm just saying, and I'm willing to look at the building with others, if that's where I choose. But I also think, you know, do you have to end up with the building that you ultimately want? Because I think that's a little scary, without having a trust, without having this, that, or the other thing. And yet it seems like you have something up and running by next year, perhaps on a smaller scale. I don't know.
I think that is absolutely feasible. Everything we talked about here tonight is feasible. Everything that we're looking at is feasible. What we have to do is we have to get it down to some nuts and bolts. We have to know that, you know, you make a decision. It's called a go, no go point. So you either figure out what you want to do, and you find out the feasibility of it, whether it's a trust, whether it's a co-op, whether it's something entirely different, whether we all take out $1,000 share and get 100 people to do $1,000 share. I don't care. It's not a decision I want to make tonight, but the process is just started. Just starting to think about stuff. And maybe if everybody who here wants to have some part of this, wants to do a simple 5-minute presentation at some point in time, and what their vision is, that'd be great. But first, we really got to look at what we're going to move it into. None of these ideas will work unless we have space. That's a commercial space, I believe, and I think that right now, that's what's in front of us. So either yes or no. And that's pretty simple. I mean, it's a yes or no decision. How we get there is having the facts and understanding what that property really is, whether it's going to work or not.
I think that's the key thing, because the main problems, the main challenges we have right now is determining if the building can even support it, right? So we need to get some idea of, you know, as you said, purchasing the building, we need someone to come inspect the building. We'd have to hire the inspectors. I learned a valuable lesson. When the homeowner hires the inspector, you remove your ability of chasing down the inspector when they're not accurate in what they said. I learned that the hard way. So we have to hire our own inspectors to go out and look at the building. And of course, like anything, to your point, it's like buying a house. I'm not buying a house with a bad septic system, and I don't know if there is someone here at home, maybe they're here or not, but I'm not buying a house with a bad septic system. Fix the septic system, I'll buy the house. Or we're going to talk about price of it to compensate for the amount that we're going to have to work, because at this present moment, you're selling a building that, in all intents and purposes, should be functioning and 100% off. You know, it's like any bad roof, bad whatever. So, well, that's what I'm saying. We need to hire inspectors, right? And a couple $100 each inspection. You know, you can get one of these. Was it Brick Pickers? I think was the guy who came out for me. You know, they're jack of all trades and go through and say, hey, you need to look closer at this. You need to look closer at that. Or you hire a roofer, an electrician, you know, a plumber, people who are in the know in that industry. And each one of those costs X amount of hundreds of dollars to get them to come out and take a look at the property to ensure that the septic system is functional and properly sized, or roof is safe. The floor won't fall in when you walk on it. Not that it ever felt that way when I walked in there.
I wonder if it's education for local, something to build in the local area, if we could give local artisans, train people to come in and help and stuff, to help with, you know,
Community build days. or
community
something.
cause stuff.
Absolutely.
The other thing I like that, and whoever gets involved in that part of it, if the idea of this is to have a permanence to that location, or a permanence to whatever business it is we decide to set up, does it make more sense to buy it, because then now you have control of the building? If you lease it and a person decides, I decided to sell the building, and the person who buys it says, I don't want your, then you lost that ability to hold on to the permanence of the business, and it's up to whoever owns it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd guide anybody to one way or the other right now. We don't have enough facts. We
Yeah.
don't know what that property is. I'd like out of this meeting, at a minimum, a couple of people that want to pursue that to the point where at the next meeting, you can say, here's what we found out. And whether at the next meeting, we make a decision to hire people to do the inspections properly, that would start to make sense if we're moving towards a purchase of some sort. And where we're going to get financing for that, well, we gotta find somebody that might be able to write us a grant. It might be people that can go out there and look for money for us. And absolutely take a look and say, well, they did this, so maybe we can do this. And that may be just being a good investigator, finding out what other cooperatives did, what other people started with what building. And if you go over to the store in Callis, they've also got a bar and an entertainment section of that. Anybody been to the Whammy Bar? Yeah, no, good space, good music. But they also have that there. I don't think Ms. McCall would like having a bar next to the house.
Yeah. Really hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like guidelines you have
Right.
to meet, and if you're selling one thing, sometimes you can't sell the other thing.
This is very true.
And then you can't employ minors necessarily for staffing any other part of the store.
You're so far ahead of us on this. That's good. So what are we doing for time? Maybe we got, let's have it. 21 minutes. So can we get a commitment from some people that want to actually start to look at what it would mean to acquire that building? And that can be balanced with leasing the space, because we'll know both of those figures, and what it might need. Maybe talking to the owners, maybe talking to the realtor. From an official capacity, this is it. You guys are forming something that will be unique and may last a very long time. If you think like legacies, it'd be a cool place to have a legacy right now.
I think that somebody needs to be inside. The place, for sure. Like you said, it needs an inspection.
Yeah, need an
You
inspection.
need to know what we're dealing with.
You know what we're looking at, but I'm glad to make some phone calls at the friend.
Yeah.
So what, can I just put your name down so we have it for?
Yeah, Brenda Churchill's money. I'll call up, what I'll do is I'll call out to the actual real estate and have a conversation with them. I'll figure out what current rates are if we had to go get a loan and see what it would cost us to own it versus, and I don't know if the current owners are agreeable to talk to me, but we'll also see what they want and how we can move forward.
You want me to write that down and then you remember what you have to do?
John and I will communicate. We have the ability to do that, you can go email.
Yeah.
Well, if you figured out phoning, you can.
That's some
great.
That's exactly what the old people do. So if John will be the point person on that, if you get a couple people that you want to meet with separately and talk to about what develops and what the next step would be, that's great. I think that would be a really firm way to start. Let's, 2 weeks from now sound like but Wednesdays work. I know that there's people who are involved with soccer and football that may not have been here tonight. At least that's what they told me.
I think it's great summer.
We're talking October 13th.
On Wednesday, it's done at 4:30, but it's great summer.
Excellent.
You're talking October 13th.
October 13th, so folks want to meet October 13th?
Who else, what else do you need people to do before the next meeting? Because we got John, who else?
Well, homework. I mean, basically, I put a bunch of stuff out there, whether people read it or not. That's up to you. You've got enough stuff going on. If there's enough local things going on where you could pop into the co-op in Morrisville, if you're over that way, and talk to folks. I actually know the manager over there. We've got a Rail City, like you said. I don't think they're cooperatively owned anymore.
They're not,
but,
they're not.
There is a St. Albans co-op,
They
but if you
might still need one.
simple Vermont co-ops, and you're gonna find Vermont co-ops in Franklin County, there's a couple. I don't know if the farm store in Jeffersonville is a cooperative, but it may be a different model. And again, with that said, there's different models and different things that are going on. Ask them questions. If they don't want to answer you, they won't.
Is that the one right on Main Street in Jeff? Or is that the
Yes.
one?
It's a great story.
That would actually be,
Mhm.
that's a good one. I mean, I'd be happy to go down that great story.
Absolutely. I mean, all this is going to require investigation. Decisions aren't going to be made just by saying so. let's find out as much information as we can, and folks can come back and talk on the 13th. We'll do this again, 6 o'clock on the 13th. And I think we got a good start.
Can I ask, I set up chairs and I tried to be conscious of the distancing, but I also didn't want to have to do a lot of changing because the select board meets here. Does this kind of work? I mean, I pulled the single chairs out. If we had 100 people, we'd be in trouble. This is okay?
We may set a minimum or a maximum meeting, depending on what the COVID levels are, and of course, what the guidance is from the governor or the health commissioner. And absolutely be conscious and aware of this as a still a pandemic. It looks like it did last year.
Also, concern for people who are involved online, their ability to, if they've had any difficulty got into the conversation.
They're all muted. Brenda, you want to give them an
I
opportunity?
was gonna
If
say-
anyone wants to unmute, talk.
Yep,
Yeah, they wanna
anybody that's
add
on mute
something?
over there, if you got anything you want to add, now would be a great time to do that.
Yes, please.
Jenny, Karen, Pat? Karen and Pat are gonna get a nice new dog here soon.
There we go.
It was all very interesting, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen in the future.
Thank you, Pat. Or Sharon, I'm sorry. We make it happen. That was actually a business slogan that we had in a group 25 years ago that we worked for. We make it happen. That's pretty much what's gonna happen here. We'll make it happen. We can watch it happen. That's okay. But yeah, I think we have a good quarter. I am gonna ask one thing. I got paper over. Everybody would just put the name down and wait to contact them, and we can start a couple pieces of paper. Not for any official record, but at some point in time, we may run it like an official meeting and have to keep track of people. Anybody have objections to doing that?
You want phone number and email?
Best way to reach you, I guess. Carry your email. Carry your email. Somebody wants to start a page and pass it around, and we'll have a couple things going.
So I think one of the largest co-ops I can think of that those people know and may not realize and you do is cattle. Cattle community co-op. Yeah, they take all milk producers.
Dairy co-ops,
Dairy co-op. So you talk about successful, not that I'm saying for everyone who decides to cut, but a successful co-op is, that's a great model.
We have the Salem cooperative down there,
Yeah.
the store cooperative. It's a member-owned business, is basically what we're talking about. Member-owned business. Guided by usually board of directors. Really tight rules on how that's run. And well, the answer to all the owners.
So would we be the board of directors or would you be deciding?
Yeah,
I
I
think
know.
at some point, when we got to that point, we would decide on a number that we would want to say, we want 6 people or 7 people, and we figure out who wants to do that, and make sure that nobody has any objections to who those people are, and goes from there.
They feel elected. The members have to elect the board of directors.
Yeah.
Does any of this have to go before the town?
No, hell
And we were talking about, and you mentioned that pulling together,
The
trust thing.
no. I'm sorry.
The trust,
If,
is that something that you're looking at to put together or?
well, right now Brigham Academy doesn't have anything to do with the town. Okay, and grants that they're getting are, I think this one is a state one or maybe a federal one. I haven't had enough time with Lance to
I
find
can
out.
look into grants if you want.
Everybody can look into grants, and I want to learn how to write grants. I think that's gonna be one of the ways that we support this endeavor, is through grants and individual contributions. There will be people in the community that will want to be part of this, and there will be a buy-in to that as well, whether it's a minor share or a huge share. It may be that we sell it by shares, maybe that we do this by shares. So if you think about all the ways to generate cash, other than printing it, I'm pretty sure everything will be available. It's just how hard are we gonna work for this? this something we really want? Are we gonna put in the blood, sweat and tears in it? I sure hope so. Be nice to have this back. I'd like to have something there by next summer, next spring. I think that'd be a ambitious goal, but a doable goal. Even if we just set up a coffee cart up front, I don't care.
Why hasn't anybody thought about just the store to start? Is that something, and then maybe move on?
There's an idea. There's an idea.
Anybody thought of just having a store there as it was and then moving to it? We did once.
Yeah, I mean, the conversation, same with getting the equipment back and all. that.
Yeah. it's-
Just start it up from there, and it
it's
still comes
awesome.
down to a startup cost. I mean, that would be just as easy, because you're moving, merchandise at that point in time.
One of the things our,
Well,
yeah. One of the things our reporter friend here also noted when talking to people was that the distributors for all of the major stores don't like to stop at somebody that isn't buying a minimum of $1,000 of product. So
It's not worth it.
stocking off of Burlington Food Services or anybody like that that brings your frozen chicken patties out.
So we could not do a lot of
can't-
processed food, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, no, I think all of that makes a lot of sense.
But we also have to offer stuff that people can't get themselves, like, at Hannaford or whatever. There has to be a reason for people to want to come to the store. And the reason Sean had people come with pizza or, the grinders and the easy stuff to get. So it's the balance of what people want.
So the honest question is, why did the last business fail in Norfolk?
It didn't fail.
They just-
They got burned out, it wasn't too successful, and they ran out of energy.
Staffing,
So it was successful during the profit.
I think so.
They said that they increase their profits every year, actually, and that they weren't, it wasn't.
He was just working on something.
They were tired.
I'll tell you, one thing that we're missing up here, that you have to drive to St. Albans or somewhere all the time, honestly, somewhere that serves breakfast.
Yes.
It is the worst thing since I moved here, farm to table open, I was thrilled, farm to table closed, I was upset. Nobody wants to serve breakfast, I don't know why.
Yeah, you gotta go to Jeffersonville, but they're only open Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, and it's like really expensive, very limited.
342 Main or something like that?
158, where it's right
Yeah.
up is-
Actually, you can be 242 or Enosburg barbecue.
Yeah,
But
Which is
that
now
is
the
the
golf
point,
course.
John.
Yeah.
The breakfast
Breakfast,
piece, and that, people coming out for coffee, but then also wanting breakfast. You know who else does breakfast is Chester's.
Yeah, but it's like a very specific type of breakfast. They do very niche things, and if you were offering something different, like, the mom is dropping off, the kid wants to grab like a scone and a coffee, like.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, even if you just did like, I don't know, like, like a basic breakfast, like, where you get Red House Sweets does like croissants, and I know they distribute around here, you can get a croissant breakfast sandwich with local cheese from Doe's Leaf and local meats. I mean, I would go for local bacon if I could get that, yeah, okay.
that's why I looked up farm to table food, so.
It'd be so good.
That was good. I'm
And the
sorry to see what
local
was.
coffee roasters, you said, the full hollow or the peach. So you get the local ones and you get the local sandwich. Yeah. And then you are walking around with your coffee, waiting for your sandwich to be ready, and you're looking at all the stuff in the store, and you buy a couple of things, yeah.
Like Joe's Leaf gets bread from Frenchburg. It's like, they come up here.
Were they in the store though? They weren't in the store.
No.
There wasn't a lot of.
There wasn't a lot.
Wasn't a lot of local
Local.
I believe what they said, and it's what you reported was that they had to have X amount to be able to get a truck to even stop.
Yeah.
And that really burdens you up front. That,
Yeah.
You gotta sell this.
I think so, you gotta work.
Yeah, independent businesses,
Mhm.
small businesses, local farms.
It
Yeah.
also sounds like we're kind of changing maybe a little bit of the type of food. And I'm guessing some of the people that came out tonight are looking for something a little different, and that's sort of what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
I don't want to muff in my stuff.
The thing about keeping it what it was is you're competing with places, Jolly's down the street with the same
Right.
products.
Yeah.
They
Or
have
if it
the
doesn't
advantage of
taste
having
like
a
what
gas
and
station,
people
so-
get angry about that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I've been.
Yeah, because Jolly has all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only advantage they had was the pizzas and the the other stuff.
I'm sure Blodgett's would love to have us put another pizza oven back in there, and it's so versatile.
Yeah.
You
Be
can
able to
build
cook on
pizza ovens too, if there was space somewhere, you could do like a wood fired and that could be a selling.
They do that
That would be
downtown.
awesome.
They do it in East Fairfield.
Make sure the building doesn't fall down first.
And when the guy does the barbecue around here, you smell that, like people would come
Oh,
for
yeah.
that smell of the wood fire pizza.
Mhm. And it'd be a good stopping point for, think about all the people that come through here in the summer.
Yeah.
This is
on
a
the bikes
corridor
and
too,
stuff.
from St. Albans to Newport. You gotta think of the folks who commute up Route 36, and commute all on Route 36. And also Jefferson and Cambridge and
All the
There's-
case managers from NCSS.
there you go. But you do have a lot of commuter traffic going on. So if you need a convenience spot, I would imagine that if somebody had a drive-up coffee cart across the street, and they could just start handing it out, people drive in there and drive out,
Oh, yeah.
you know, even if you only did it once or twice a week, I think you would start to capture a lot of stuff. You got a friend who, look at the Front Seat Cafe in Johnson. You ever been down there?
I passed it.
They have a small trailer that all she does is make cappuccinos and espressos.
No,
out of
that coffee, that's
it.
just.
Don't make coffee, same thing.
Yeah, I know. And they
Yeah,
do
no,
good
that's-
business too.
Yeah, know my coffee down in Essex is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's literally a wooden box, I mean, barely,
Yeah,
he turns left, right, he's gonna bang off the walls down there, you can sit right, so,
and they do very limited stuff, but what they do well, it's like, it's so good.
I like this guy.
Well, that's kind of where I was going is, we have the product. I know we need to figure out the location, but boy, that's a big one. If you ever run around.
Yeah.
Could be smaller.
Around here, you don't need to stay away from special caterers, like, just really good coffee and not like.
Yeah.
Another thing
Yeah,
for-
coffee with soy milk and
Yeah.
extra foam and extra hot.
Just more coffee.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, yes, you do simple stuff, people, if you're doing anything besides drip coffee, people will ask you whether or not you offer it or not, they expect it, and especially if you have people from out of town, I work in like coffee shops all over the country, in Canada and here, and like, you'd be like, I offer dark coffee, light coffee, can I get a lot?
Sure,
And
you
you have
can.
cream and milk, like, go crazy. But I mean, and then even if somebody's like, I'm lactose intolerant, what can I have, or I can't have caffeinated coffee, so it's like, it turns into this thing where you need, like, if you're gonna do coffee, you like, decaf, drip, and then be like, you can have a double espresso if you want, and that's it. And then you have an espresso.
It'd be easy to carry stuff like non-dairy.
So there's
Yeah.
someone that wants to-
Yeah, and I mean, you can do like soy milk, and you do an extra charge, so if somebody's doing that, you charge extra for it.
So are we getting away from like a farm to table more to like a restaurant?
No, I mean, it's still, you could, it just has to do with
We've gone down
design,
the rabbit hole
because.
Yeah, no, I'm just curious because you know, I do with food too, and I was just wondering, you know, how we're working.
Absolutely.
Talking about scones and.
Everything's on the
Oh,
table
Are
right
you
now.
are you a salt person? Do you bake?
I can make them.
So that's good. I can make any kind of hot drink you want, so, and I can train people too. I've been doing that for a while.
So we're kind of wrap it up and not to keep it much later than 7. Out of this list, I'm going to send insurance people to you. No, I'm just kidding. What I will do is, let's make a private Facebook page. And then we can start inviting people to that and we'll make a group. And I will send out invites to everybody on this list. As long as they got legible. I didn't say legible. I'm sorry, but I think you got the most out here. And people will only be able to come in once they answer a few questions like, are you a resident of Bakersfield? That would be a yes. Are you interested in attending meetings? That'd be a yes, if you want participation, whether it's live or Memorex. And do you have a lot of money? No, the idea is not to make this a money pit for anybody. We want other people to pay for it, not us. Particularly grants and whatever might be available out there. So secondarily, that may be the next group is where we're gonna
Okay.
go for funding, how we're gonna go for funding, whether there's a grant available or we do it as a trust. And again, there's similar concepts, but different enough where we may be able to generate more money or more funds by doing it that way. All of them will have an open and public meeting format. All of them will have a board of directors. All of them may have trustees that are involved in taking care of the money issues. But let's make sure it all stays transparent. If any of you want to have private conversations, that's what the other part of Facebook is for. But try to get some enthusiasm for other people to be in on this, and I think we'll do okay. Yeah.
One more question. So say we get, rich benefactors, dollar bills. What does that look like for taxes? I mean, I know you said for the building, but that's a separate, with the funding stream, like what, how is that taxed? Cause they're. Yeah, would it have to be like established to a certain fund or like,
I don't know.
there's something to figure out?
Something to figure out. Yeah.
Is it worth talking to an accountant?
Absolutely. You know what I mean? By the way, he may be hired for this.
That is my background. But, I mean, the person that does taxes may have some answers to some.
Maybe there's somebody local who would.
Yeah, very local.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. All of these things, at some point in time, we're gonna have a chart that just says what we're gonna do. And that maybe the best suggestion we can do is when we meet on the 13th, is that we bring some big paper and we start to carve these things out, name them, add people to help on them, and go from there. So I think this was, I'm absolutely overjoyed with the turnout tonight, and I think there will be more people as you guys spread the word, saying, hey, this looks like it really might work. And that's the attitude we need. Not, oh my God, what are we doing here? But, oh my God, what are we doing here? And make it go. I think that would be a great way to leave this. Any last minute questions?
And we speak with the owner?
I don't care.
Well, I'm just wondering, so we can get out there
Well, yeah,
and get questions about the.
they'll want you to buy it. They're selling it. So approach it in a way that makes sense. If we've got somebody that can
Yeah.
find people to look for tradesmen to go through there and say, you need this, this, and this. Here's an estimate, $15,000 for plumbing and heating. You know, we're gonna be doing this as a cooperative group. If you want to go there and report back to the group that you talked to the owners, and this is what I found out. I've done some phone calls with Cindy and her husband screaming in the background. So,
Well, I think we want to be cognizant of the fact that we don't all want to go on our own.
Right, yeah.
So making sure that Rosalie and John say this is something they're going to pursue, you probably know them quite well, or have known them a long time. Okay, so you might have a connection there, you know, but if you guys.
yeah, coordinate with Mr. West. You know where he lives.
Never seen him. I know.
Hey,
And then, you know, again, taking initiative here, not frowning on it at all.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to do, you know, several people want to walk through the business, we can coordinate a time, you know, after 5, right, where we can stop over there, have the real estate agent meet us. People walk through and, you know, if people have some kind of specialty, be it, you know, with anything, and they want to point things out, like I'm a jack of all trades when it comes to fixing things, so.
I can do so.
You know, maybe a hammer,
I've
not
broken a couple houses in my past, so.
I also want to talk to people that used the last people who were running the store, because they may know a lot of the little things that haven't been in there all that time.
And are you familiar with it?
I was not out of it, I moved out straight.
I mean, if you have some capability to have a conversation, that's an important thing to also kind of find out, you know. I understand that they're burning out, they ran out of time, but it'd be nice to know, you know, like you were saying, every year they were gaining a profit. It'd be nice to know that was actually what was kind of happening.
If I run into them, I'll look at the books.
I could talk to them.
Well, it might be something, once we get our committees or meetings set up, that we could invite them to a meeting where we could all have a collective conversation with them to get that kind of information and have a PM session with them.
Yeah.
Who's to say that they even know what we're trying to do? They may be like, hey, because we were burned out, but now look, it's spread among so
Oh, I
many people, I
know.
went back in.
That. that.
Be at least interested in supporting us in this and
Yeah.
telling us what they know. I mean, really nice.
In the next 2 weeks, my intention is to set up a meeting with the real estate agent, as long as my driver will take me there. And just meet up with the real estate agent sometime after 5 and just look at the building and walk through it. If anyone's interested in doing that, just let Brenda know she's got the contact information and I can set up a time and coordinate,
So what I will do is make the group, in the next day or two.
Does Facebook work for everyone?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay,
we-
I'm gonna do-
I think that's how we got here.
Yeah.
We'll do Facebook for now. And then you can cross contact each other. I'll invite you all in. And whatever you do from there. Let's just keep it simple and like say, you live in Bakersfield? Yes, no, that's not a disqualifier.
Yeah, just
Are you willing to attend meetings or online or in person? That would be a prerequisite for anybody that wants to be involved in this.
Yeah.
And do you have a lot of money?
Yeah, I like the idea of the meeting with the person who's selling it, because this is a local family. And I think respectfulness and, minimizing any just errant talk would probably put us in a better place with a family of generations who've been here in this
Yeah.
town, just to make sure that they're not feeling like,
That's why
we all want to go and look through your
Yeah.
house. To be really careful not even careful, just respectful.
Diplomatic.
Yes,
Absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
yeah,
But we do need to know what we're looking at.
absolutely. I like the idea of starting with the real estate.
So Rosalie, you're gonna commit to talking to the current owners?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's get it all organized first. I have spoken with Cindy a couple times, about something.
Yep.
About that.
And John, you're gonna arrange with the realtor to have
Like that.
a inspection date and let us know when we often.
So I do a walkthrough.
Yeah.
Not so much an inspection date, until we get a walkthrough and decide if we want to put money up on stuff, right? It may be pretty obvious that we don't want to do that in a day of, but yeah. And I'll try to either make it on after 5 or sometime on a weekend if they can come out on Saturday,
Perfect.
crazy time. I'll put it out in a group as soon as you make it.
That's good.
Should we do the same for the previous store, the business owners? Should we try to have that conversation with them too? And have the
If we can, were they owners or were they leasing? the
They were
space?
leasing.
Sorry, other
Yeah.
business.
Does anybody know them?
No, but the lawyer should have contact information.
Oh, that's, yeah.
I missed something.
You mean the monitor?
The mon-
That's
sorry, Sean.
the owner of the
Montague.
building.
Sorry, Sean.
Sean.
Sean, yeah,
And the dad and mom are right here.
they're right there. Sean.
Yeah.
And Linda McCall is on.
Somebody's gonna.
Somebody.
Sean and Jen are leaving town, like,
Soon, right? Yeah.
the new owners move in
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of the other aspect of once they decide to get around the
I
store.
don't know,
We're
I
simple.
thought that was you.
I don't know who Robert's iPhone is. Anybody know who owner is?
Robert Willis, probably.
Probably not.
Good call.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Thank you.
Maybe there'll be snow next time.
Thank you all.